I'm so honored to be here today. Sorry, it's not right. Very honored to be here today, and the reason I think I'm here is because I was hosting Maria when she didn't have a place to stay when we had slush in November. And of course, when somebody comes all the way from Riga to Finland and doesn't have a place to stay in November, please, I have a place to stay in. So first come, first served. So I don't know how many of you are coming this year, but please come. My name is Christina, and I'm on Twitter, Kittikatti. So please, if you tweet something nice, ping me. If you don't tweet anything nice, don't ping me. I have a long history working with startups. I started my own business 15 years ago, and at that time, startups were not called startups. They were born globals. But I just rewind very quickly. I worked a lot with tech startups at that time, before the startup boom. But because there was no ecosystem, there were no networks of working together. It was very time-consuming, and we needed a lot of resources because we didn't have a backbone. We didn't have each other's support. So 2008, a long time ago, Peter, who not at that point wasn't the guy in the red hood as you know him. He was just a guy who was a really heavy networker. I had worked with the Finnish gaming cluster for a while, and the gaming cluster was very, very strong as a cluster together. So I think the power that generated everything that came from that particular cluster, the gaming cluster. And there was a culture of helping each other and supporting each other. But 2008, Peter came to talk to me and said, Christina, I want you for a quick lunch. I said, okay, fine, nice day, summer, let's have nice lunch. I still remember I had seasoned salad because I almost choked on one of those crumbs when he said, I have this great idea. Let's have an event in Finland in November. International event? Yes, of course, international event. I said, how are you going to get people to come to Finland? It's dark, it's slush, it's just awful. And he said, yeah, that's that's why they will come. And you know, another thing, and after speaking after Latvian government representative here, his pitch was also no government, no ministers, no, nothing of the old. We just want the cool and hip people there. And I said, okay, let me think. But somehow he had managed to put together Mobile Monday initiative, if you ever heard of that spread around the world. And I said, this guy has something. He has cool ideas. They're crazy, but they're cool. So I said, okay, let's try and do something great. And it wasn't about me only. He was able to pull in a lot of people just with his energy and power. And also, he had the ability to execute, to actually get people involved and gather these right teams to help him out. So I just have some pictures of that. The day came that this is from the first slush. And as you can see, we have the icon moose. We have a lot of moose in Finland, and and it's kind of cute. But the day that slush came, we didn't get slush, we got snow. And some of the flights were canceled, so people from other parts of the world didn't make it. They made it to Heathrow or some other country, but never made it to Helsinki because of the snow. Not because Helsinki Airport, but the airports that were closed. So the first slush looked like this, and Peter looked like this, and companies that were presenting there looked like that. Have you ever seen Peter without his red hood? This is how he used to look. Not very energetic either, but we were of course, worried about what people think of the weather, so that was one of the first questions we asked. Of course, we had panel discussions. They looked like this. And you probably recognize Ilkka Paananen from Supercell. He wasn't Supercell guy at that point, but he was there. And here are the participants from the first slush. That's everyone. And you can spot me there in the right-hand corner. And I was just so proud that we got all these people in for this slush. Even though we didn't have any big names, we had just startups. And the whole idea was from startups to startups. And now that we look at the big thing, I think the cool thing, and what I think is something I want to share with you, is that we just needed to build the network among us, among startups, not rely on somebody else's help, but just us. It's us making the difference. Us. We don't need others' help, but we need each other's help. So it looked pretty lame. And another thing, I tried to tell the journalist that this is cool. It's going to be so cool. Some of them came and they left because there were so few people. We were about 200 altogether at that time. But some of them actually wrote something, and I thought it was a breakthrough. And the demo area looked like this. A couple of people were showing off something on their laptops. And last year, this small event has grown up to become huge. 14,000 people coming to Helsinki. Massive crowds, massive speakers. Ilkka Paananen is there, but now he's a superstar. Also, Peter is there. He is like the superstar. So, I don't know where that went, but what the question is, what can we learn from this story? From this story that we have had in Finland. And now I'll share you some of the stuff. How did we do this? How did we come from, let's have an international big event and going through 7 years of just continuous growth? I think the first thing was that we had to have our pack together. And that's, I think, is one of the reasons why you're here today. Labs of Latvia is putting up the ecosystem together. And what does the ecosystem does to us? It gives us trust in one another. We need to trust. Unless we have trust, we cannot cooperate. We cannot make it for the other one. And trust is not only, the trust starts with you guys, you feeling very comfortable with being among other startups, but then again, start to grow from there. Nowadays, it's not a big, it's very easy to ask anyone to come to Slush or anyone to speak to a startup because everyone wants to be sort of with the cool people. But how do you make yourself cool? You make yourself cool by just thinking that each and every one of you are cool. And you must think that you're cool too. So trust was one of the first issues that I think we had in place. And I think in Finland we had a legacy of trust, which gives us a lot of advantage in many areas, even though we didn't have much of a trust in government in a sense that they would actually fund startups because startups didn't get funded really before everything started to happen. But also, government actually made a cool initiative to merge 3 universities together. 2010, Aalto University started, and that was one of the key issues that we actually have this kind of a startup boom. It was Tech University, Business University, and Design University all merged together. And that contributed very much also to the trust. It's not about silos, but working together. So I think trust has been a tremendous asset in everything that we've done within this startup community. Does anyone here know the sort of description to what CISO is? Is that familiar word to anyone?
Perseverance?
Pardon?
Perseverance?
Yes, that too. It's a Finnish word, but it's like sauna. Everyone knows what sauna is. It's a Finnish word too. Sisu is also a Finnish word, but it describes some resilience. It's something that you want to achieve, you want to perform no matter what. And of course, shit will hit the fan. Like with slush, every year it was difficult. Every year was impossible. But then in the end, now it's not impossible, but it is impossible to be bigger and bigger every time. I'm just afraid what will be the year that slush cannot grow, because that feels like a failure. But Sisu has been the common denominator here. And Sisu has been present in everything that we do. And then, my last advice, and this is really something that I think we can all learn from. When stuff, the world is in turmoil. There's no guarantee where the world is going, whether we will have peace or war or whatever. We can be hit by something that we don't see. But no matter what, we always have to improvise. And I think improvising is the key that we sort of manage to keep the startup boom going. And startups by nature need to improvise. And now I just want to be clear with you. What do you feel is improvising? Because impro, as a short version of it, impro, as you know, in impro theater, when two people are given, okay, you guys, and then you are a couple and you've been married 20 years and you have some problems, so just improvise that dialogue. That's how you see it happen. And I think startups are always, okay, this is the world, this is the startup, make it happen. So what do? What's the dialogue between everything around you? But let's start with the dialogue that you have with your team and with other teams and with each other. Because I think when we start building networks of trust, we need to take one crucial part from improvisation. And how do they manage? How do they manage to be so successful? Because your focus is not in what you say, but your focus will be in the ability for the other guy to pick on what you leave and start from there. So you're always giving a perfect pitch to your opponent or the guy that you're having a dialogue with. And if you get this going, you will see amazing things start happening, because you are always giving out something to someone, and when that finishes, you will get something back. It's a continuous giving back to the community, and the community gives you back. And I think this has been the single key thing that has kept us so much going. And I think you need to try this, at least today, when you get a chance to mingle. Try and get, the easiest punchline, okay, who are you? Okay, that's a key. And then you go, okay, what's your name? I love your t-shirt. And for me, I always have these shoes. So when I actually went to Air Dog today, the first thing I heard from, what was his name? Yes, thank you. He didn't say hi or anything. He said, cool shoes. And I immediately understood this guy. Yeah, he knows the essence of a woman. Cool shoes. And when Thomas Ilves in Estonia was walking by me, he didn't look at my face at all. He was just staring at my shoes. So definitely there's something there, but have something that give people the ability to approach you, and then start up a dialogue. Start something that will keep the dialogue going. And improvise all the time with each other and among one another, because you will need that network. You will need that. And what we see in Finland all the time, we see a tremendous support from everyone. When some startup actually starts something, you can see a lot of other startups are just going, oh, whoa, whoa. So you won't, the amount of thumbs up is just incredible. And I feel the love all the time. And last week I was awarded some awards in PR, and it's just amazing how the culture has sort of dug into the networks, that you put out something and you immediately get people just hooraying and say, hey, congrats, and so forth. But I think the paying back to the community, and I think in the beginning it was very hard. It was very hard to say something cool of the other one, because you are competing from the same resources. And I think the cancer that can eat up any one of these is that you are struggling of the same resources that you see that are limited. But trust me, there are no limits, and Latvia is not alone, and this is not the only country in the world. So go out there. There are plenty of countries, there are plenty of people, there are plenty of VCs, there's plenty of money. The money is there. So you will find that if you make Latvia's startups, the startup scene, big, great, looking good, you will all look good. Your common goal and your common vision must be that everyone wants to see this as a cool hub for cool startups. So your PR job is to make sure that you, not only you, but each and every one of you look good.
Thank you. We will give you a small gift about our best exporting companies. We don't have such a book for startups, but for exporting companies we have.
Okay.
So hopefully you will enjoy.
Thank
And
you.
maybe you could say whether we should have such slush in Latvia, or you don't want to have a competitor.
Well, maybe you should need to create something unique, not slush. I mean, there's already a slush, but maybe you should create something else, something that speaks out for the needs of yourself and gives a lot of value. Because I think seminars are so dead. And seminars are so dead. Talking in a seminar. Okay, but let's say I think something unique comes out from every country and every nation. I think you have to rely on your own sort of strengths, what it is that you can find from here. But it all starts with these three things: trust, sisu, and improvisation. Just improvise. And I think here you need to improvise what it is that you find that will be cool for you. I'd like, if there's possibility, I'd like to get any kind of questions or comments here from the audience, if you are up to it. Anyone? Are you like Finns? No questions.
What was your award for?
What was?
Your award for?
Oh, my award. I got awarded, or my company got awarded for international communications for the third time. The prize has been given now 3 times. So we are the only agency in Finland, obviously, who knows how to do international PR. But yes, and we also got in influential communications a nomination there. So, but I have a lot of awards. So, but awards are in the past. And for sure, I just want you to tell you, I've been in business for 50 years. I've been a startup coach for 7 years, and I'm actually working with Very Girl Startup at the moment as a partner, and I'm ready to do the next 15, maybe 50 years. So watch out, and I hope that you're going to be there too, because I think that the future is so exciting. So every time I talk about the past, I just want to let you know that my focus is in the future, and I see as a I see myself being 100 years old and still doing cool stuff.
Still young.
Still young. No, I'm not young, but I want to be doing cool stuff and, think about the future and to think about tomorrow. And that's why I think is the essence of startups, that the focus is not in the past. So don't dwell in the past. You're given what you're given, but tomorrow you make it for yourself. So improvise.
Yeah.
Any more? Yes?
How many pairs of shoes do you have?
I think these are very cool questions.
Because today is an orange day.
Yeah, today is an orange day. Yes, I have to thank you for the question. But this is a Finnish designer, and every time I go abroad, I put Finnish designer shoes on. So it's like doing promotion for my country's design. So thank you for the question. And ladies, this is Minna Parikka. And if you ever come to Finland, you need to look at Minna Parikka shoes because they are really signature shoes. So some of you might know Manolos, men probably don't. But if you don't, make sure that you at least spot that someone has cool shoes. So definitely go for the shoes. They make an impression every time. Yes?
Wouldn't you mind, I would ask you a straight question about creating a startup. Maybe a short answer from you. What would you advise someone who is new to a startup, have some experience in IT, good background, maybe an experience doing business, but normal one, not a startup environment, right? So if the person has, let's say, resources for 1 year, which should be enough maybe for a startup, right? And
Do you mean resources as money?
yeah.
Okay.
To sustain an office, a computer, and the life for that person. And the person has some experience in IT and in doing business. What your concrete advices would be? Just maybe 2 or 3.
Okay, work on the funding. That's the easiest way. But okay, I think this was something I'm. Can I address this question? Yes. Okay. When I coach startups, I always talk about 2 things. First of all, you need to have a vision. But your vision needs to be something that you can execute. Because if the gap is too big, your vision, man on the moon or colony in Mars, and you're going to come up and say, I want to put a colony in Mars, and people look at you, yeah, sure, nice vision, but can you execute it? So there needs to be a balance between your vision and your ability to execute. And if you're looking for resources, I think the first resource that any startup needs is the resource to get to the next level. And your next level after a year is money, right? Because you don't have money beyond that. Okay, so work on getting the money. So what you need is to have a team. You need to find people that are working for you to get the money. That is your only priority. And if I look at what we have in Finland, I was telling that Tekes, the Finnish funding agency, government funding agency for innovations, they actually have a program for new innovative companies that you can get pretty much like 50,000 or 100,000 euros as a sort of a grant first, but there's a milestone to get the next one. You can get up to 1 million euros, but they set you milestones. And now I think if you have a year from now, you have to have milestones that go after the money, because if you cannot get the deal flow in and you cannot be funded by what you're doing, then you need someone to back it up. So you need to have a plan how to get the money and work on that. It's really cool, and I think it's really important that you address the fact early enough. And with a startup I'm now working, it's a spin-off, and first a guy said to me that we don't really need that much money. And I said, come on, really? And they were talking about 500,000 or 1 million. I said, give me a fucking break. We need 10 million. And they were like, where are we going to get that kind of money? And don't worry, we get the team in place and we put our story together And we start pushing it to that direction because we will need the $10 million. So you won't be doing much if you have no money. So that is basically it. So work for the money and see what are the steps that you need to make to get the money. But I think the first step is that you need to have a team, because nobody funds a vision without the ability to execute. And if your vision is too big enough for the execution level that you can actually perform, you won't get funded. So your story needs to be as close as possible. So if it's a big vision, turn it down a bit. Make that also something that is approachable and achievable with what you have to offer. And then piece by piece, make it bigger and bigger. That's, I think, how we grew up Slush. Not an easy task, no. And so many people volunteering, so many risks at all times. But as things sort of grew, the ability to execute grew too, and more of execution there. So work on the money. That's your first priority if you want to live after 1 year. Yeah.
We are having trouble to make a word in Latvian for this term startup, because it can mean quite different things.
Yes.
What is your take on this term? Can you define what is startup? Is it just any established company or not? What is your approach?
Yes. We just had this discussion today because when I was putting together the first Slush and I was saying that this is a startup event, the journalist and everyone, what's a startup? And then I said, well, some business angels are coming. Angels are coming! What the hell? So too many new words, like angels are coming and startups, I know what's happening there. So I think we're still struggling also in Finland with the word startup, but since everything has sort of grown up, I think people understand it. But in Finnish language, it's translated into a growth company that is young growth company in Finnish terms. And I think that the definition at this point is that a startup is a new company that is scalable to become big. It's the scalability that I think defines startups, because anyone can start a cafe or whatever, and that's not a startup because it probably doesn't really scale. But or the ambition is not to scale. But I think what really defines is the scalability, and that it's not domestic, but it grows beyond borders.
Thanks a lot.
Anyone else? Cool.
So, thank you for coming.
Thank you.